Hello to everybody, and welcome to our live session on the lease purchase program. We're going to be starting in about 30 seconds. We'll give other people the opportunity to join. Just give me 1 second. All right, now that my door is closed, let's start. So today's session is all about the lease purchase program. We're going to talk about purchase price buyout agreements. We're going to talk about amortization schedules. We're going to definitely talk about predatory lease agreements, and we'll talk about ET Transport's lease purchase program. That's why people are here. I think you all got the invite because at some point or another you were interested in ET Transport's lease purchase program. So I thought, why not do a live session about it? You guys are all welcome to ask any question that you want. You don't have to be politically correct. Don't worry about it. Nobody can see who is asking the questions. You guys can, if you'd like to make a positive comment, make a positive comment. If you feel like something's wrong and you want to, any comments that you want are welcome. Good, bad, the ugly. Bring it on, okay? I got the answers for you. So first, I'll take a couple of minutes. I'll talk about what the lease purchase program is in the US and in Canada, how it has evolved with other companies. I'll talk about the bad. I'll talk about what to look out for. And then we'll talk a little bit about the lease purchase program here at ET Transport. And I think that's why you guys are all here. Hello to everybody. Thank you for the comments. Love you guys also. Now let's get started. So the lease purchase program, both in Canada and in the US, was actually designed, or the meaning of it is the reason it was designed was to help company drivers become owner operators. That's pretty blank out. Okay. Who should be a part of a lease purchase program? It's people with bad credit, and it's usually drivers that have that can't save enough money for a down payment. Okay. The traditional down payment. So people with bad credit, what do I mean by that? So if your credit is about 500, 550 or anything below that, in order for you to qualify for financing, you would have to pay probably around 18 to 22% right now in order to get an approval for financing. Now, the amount of down payment that you're going to have to put down will probably be around 1/3 of the truck. So if you're buying a $100,000 truck, the only way you're going to get approved with bad credit is if you have about $35,000 down, and the rest you can finance over the course of X amount of years. Okay, so those are the only two categories that I would recommend for you to become a lease operator or even think about doing a lease purchase program. If you have good credit, okay, and if you're able to come up with the down payment, you should not be looking into a lease purchase program. All right. So what has happened over the years is companies have taken advantage of this lease purchase program, especially, I would have to say, companies in the US. I've talked to thousands of drivers. I honestly have over 10,800 drivers a part of my database. And when I talk to drivers that are currently in the lease purchase program, and when we opened up our terminal in Atlanta, Georgia, one of the common denominators that I found when talking to drivers on the lease program, it's really in the US, it's marketed as a walkaway lease. It's always marketed as zero down. It's always marketed as, come become an owner operator, and you get zero benefits of being an owner operator. The US and also the Canadian markets lately, I've seen it's more designed as a rental. It's a never-ending rental agreement that never stops. That's really what I see with the bigger companies here in Canada, and especially the huge companies, even smaller companies in the US. I see a lot of postings. I've done so many videos on BS trucking jobs, and a lot of them are these predatory lease agreements. Flag number one that I always see is the walk-away lease. I don't know why anybody would want to get into a lease and walk away from it. When you've paid down a full year or 2 years of a lease agreement, why in the world would somebody want to walk away from it? I just don't get it. The walkaway lease is, again, it's more designed as a rental. So the company benefits from it that you're working for because they have you in this lease agreement, which is really just a rental. You never get to own that piece of equipment. You can never leave with that piece of equipment. So that's really what has evolved over the years, and that's why it's gotten such a such a bad rap. These lease purchase programs, and honestly, there's a few things that I must say that some lease purchase programs have to have. Number one, a lease purchase program has to have a purchase price. It must have a purchase price. You cannot buy a truck or even enter into a lease agreement or any agreement without knowing what in the world are you buying. I've seen so many lease agreements or these lease agreements. There is no purchase price. The driver doesn't even know what he bought, but somehow he signed this document that he owes payments for the rest of his life. And sometimes even when it says it's a 5-year lease, at year number 4, somehow they just stuff him into a brand new unit or a fairly new unit, and then he has another 5 years to go on it. So that's how the wrap of the predatory lease agreements came out. So number one you have to watch out for is you have to have a purchase price. And soon I'm going to show you guys how we do it here at the ET Transport. And I hope that you find a company. You don't have to come here and work at ET Transport. That's not the point of this live session. The point of this live session is to show you guys how we do things. And maybe you guys should, when you're out there looking for a job, you would look out for certain things. Okay, so a lease agreement must have a purchase price. Now, you, on the other hand, okay, cannot buy a $50,000 truck for $80,000. It just doesn't work like that. Okay, you cannot buy a $100,000 truck for $145,000, and that's what I see wrong with a lot of lease agreements out there. The driver purchased a 3-year-old truck, a 4-year-old truck for the same price as a brand new unit. How in the world are you ever going to pay off that truck? I have no idea. Okay, but somehow a lot of the drivers have these stipulations in there. The third thing I want to make sure that you guys all have is a buyout clause in your lease purchase agreement. Okay, a driver has to be given, if he's buying a truck, he has to be given the opportunity to buy out that truck. Now, if you bought the truck with a normal lease purchase program, if you bought it with a normal fair market value of today's value or whatever, if you bought the truck and had a fair market value on it, you should be able to buy it out at any time. Yes, there's stipulations, yes, there's fees, I get it, but the driver should be given the flexibility to take that truck and go work wherever he wants as long as he buys it out. And I see in a lot of predatory leases, that driver is handicapped and cannot go anywhere and is not allowed to take that truck and go anywhere that he wants, because a lot can change in 3 or 4 years, right? You might be happy today at the company. Like, for example, if we had drivers here at ET Transport in 2023, let's say they were happy with the work, but somehow in 2024 or 2025, things can change and the driver no longer wants to be here. He should be able to take the amortization schedule, and he should be able to buy out the truck plus some fees, obviously, for buying out early. I get that, but the driver should have the flexibility of buying out the truck. Okay, so before I get into the next thing about how we do things, I really want to go over some of the comments. Hey Ronan, I'm 23 years old from Brampton, Ontario. I have 1.5 years of experience. I don't see a question here, but appreciate it. I've always wanted to join ET Transport. Thank you very much. Nolan, unfortunately, we do not hire anybody under 25 years old and without 3 years of experience here at ET Transport. Hello, 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 hello. I'm an owner-operator in Denmark. Well, thank you for joining my live session. I've checked my credit score and it's at 120. Well, just because your credit score is at 120 doesn't mean that you're not eligible for a lease purchase program. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what you must have in a lease purchase program, how we do things different, and what kind of companies you should look out for or you should want to join. Okay, so it's definitely going to give you, it's going to give you some insight on what you should and shouldn't do and what to look out for in a lease purchase program. Okay. I just checked my credit score. It's 120. All right. So many liars about the game, cheating drivers, especially when you make a huge balloon payment. 100%. Freedom USA, you are correct 1,000%. Okay. So there are a lot of liars out there. There's a lot of scams out there. And there's a lot of people that just put a big balloon payment. They trap you for 3 or 4 years. And there's a big balloon payment at the end. And the driver never gets to own his own truck. And I seen it hundreds of times, not once, not twice. I've seen it hundreds of times. I've seen drivers that come here that have lost everything because the company went under that they were leasing from, or the company never allowed them to buy out the truck. There's a lot of reasons. why I've seen these lease purchase programs fail. Okay. Nolan, you have 808 credit score. That is amazing. Unrelated comment, saw ET transport truck in Houston thumping his tires after a fuel stop. Pretty rare to see care like that. Thank you very much. Honestly, to tell you the truth, we really pride ourselves with only hiring the cream of a crop for drivers. That's why in order to enter ET transport, not only do you have to have 3 years of experience, but in a lot of the cases, you would have to know somebody within our company that's going to refer you. There is currently about a 3 or 4 month waiting list here at ET Transport to get into our doors. But again, yes, we pride ourselves with having unbelievable drivers, and every single one of them are, I would say they are very good at what they're doing. Okay, the lease walked away from me. The lease walked away from. Okay, I applied to a driver for HMU. Okay, so like I said, there is a waiting list here, but let's get into some of the questions. If you guys have questions about the lease purchase program, this is where you need to ask it. Okay, no off limit questions. All right, here's one. How often do you hit the barber, and what's on? Do you get? Okay. All right. No, I'm not going to answer any of these silly questions, but guys, if you have a question about the lease purchase program, this is where you want to ask it. Okay. What is the shipping cost the customer pays per mile? Here at ET Transport, we pay our owner operators per mile in Canada. So the plates are paid for, insurance is paid for, what else? The plates, insurance, tolls, bridges, faxes, every on-road expense that you pay for, the company pays for you as an owner-operator here. The only thing you pay for is for the fuel, your lease, and quarterly IFTA is really the only thing that an owner-operator pays for. So if you're on our lease purchase program here in Canada, then that is what you get. You get paid per mile. I believe the rate per mile right now is $1.55 per mile plus fuel surcharge. In the US, it's a little bit different. In the US, it's $75.25 when the company pays for your insurance and the company pays for your trailer. So if you're driving a van, reefer, or flatbed, it doesn't matter. You're paying $75.25 split on gross earnings. Okay. Canada has shifted more into a per mile basis, and the US is starting to get there, but they are more on a gross. They want to know what they get paid. They want to know what the customer pays. They want to know that they're getting X amount, 88.12 or 75.25. I've seen 1090. There's different splits in the US. They did exactly that to me. I asked them if they had a balloon payment at the end, and as soon as it was reading through the lease, as soon as I was reading through the lease, they have $40,000 balloon payment at the end, and I did ask them about that. So very, very common lease agreements out there. They tie in a driver. They will, the driver will work for 3-4 years. All of a sudden, his 3.5 years are up. He's asking for his buyout. The buyout says that he still has 10 payments left, plus $40,000 at the end. That truck is not even worth $40,000. And the driver gets discouraged, and this happens to a ton of drivers out there. So that's why I am trying to give you all the information I know of what you must have before you sign on to a lease purchase program. Now, it might be a broken record, but number one, you're going to need the purchase price. Okay. Number two, you're going to have to read your buyout clause, and you're going to ask them for the buyout clause. Number three, you need an amortization schedule, and only then can you sign on to a lease purchase program. Okay. So let's get into some more questions. What's the minimum amount down I can get on a Cascadia 2026? All right. So there is a lot of zero money down in the US, and you'll see a lot of lease purchase programs out there with zero money down. So I can tell you from experience, those are the shittiest or the worst lease purchase programs out there. If you're going to have an advertisement with zero money down, that means you're allowing any clown to walk in there to take a truck off your lot and work as an owner operator. These are, most cases, the predatory leases. All right. So here at ET Transport and any normal company that I know that has a lease purchase program, they expect the driver to put anywhere between $5,000 to $7,500 down for a truck. That's what we do here at ET. You're not getting into any one of our trucks without putting less than $5,000 down. $5,000 in some cases, $7,500 in some other cases. Now, I do not give away brand new trucks under a lease purchase program because I believe that, I truly believe that the prices for a brand new unit versus the amount of money that drivers make, I think that having a $4,500 lease in today's days with today's freight rates, I think that it's very hard for an owner operator to survive for 5 years paying $5,000 or $4,500. So our leases here at ET, we only give away our 18s and 19s and 20s. 20 is the cap. And based on the year that you choose. So I believe actually all of our 18s are gone. We only have the 19s left right now, 19s and 20s left. But again, you would have to work as a company driver first here at ET Transport. So we're very, very careful with who we take on board under the lease purchase program. Now, some people ask me, why in the world why do you guys force people to work between 30 to 45 days or 60 days? And the answer to that is, I want to know who I am working with. I cannot hire a driver, make him sign documents for a lease purchase program, put him in one of my trucks, and then find out that that driver is no good. It's very hard for me to tell the driver I'm sorry, and fire them or take them away from our company. This way, within 30 to 45 days, within 2 months, I know driver habits. I know if the driver is good or is a good fit or if he's not a good fit. It also gives the driver time to see if this is a company that he likes or if it's not. He's going to be able to work here as a company driver, and he's going to see our lanes. He's going to see the pickups, the waiting times. I mean, can you imagine going into a company that all they have is Walmart deliveries or Costco deliveries, and you're waiting for hours and hours all the time to deliver? Who in the world would want to work for a company like that? Or why in the world would you want to sign on board with a company like that and then only find out after that you have all these delivery appointments and the waiting time is ridiculous? Another thing that I would caution drivers on is not to sign a lease purchase program without working for the company, because you really want to know who that company is to begin with. A lot of companies out there have really bad safety scores, and if the company has a bad safety score, you're constantly going to get pulled into scales all the time. Why in the world would you want to work for a company that constantly goes into scales all the time? I mean, this is time, and that time is money that you can be rolling those wheels and making money. So, so definitely there's so many things that you need to look out for. So I always say, guys, make sure you work for that company between 30 to 60 days. You will know everything about the company within 30 to 60 days. So that's one of our rules here that we do. We don't hire anybody onto our lease purchase program without having the driver work for us for 30 to 60 days. We need to make sure that we're a good fit, because if I'm going to be working with this driver for the next 36 months, he better be happy with the job, and we better be happy with him and the way that they work. Next question. Hi, Ronan. Is it even worth it to become a lease operator in this down market? So absolutely it is. And I had this conversation with a lot of my drivers that came in here because they wanted the lease purchase program. And they tell me that, hey, do the drivers still produce the 10, 11,000 miles? And the answer to that question is yes. When you're going into 2019s or 20s, your monthly payment is really only about $2,000 a month for between 25 or 26 months. That's really the lease purchase program. I actually did one earlier today, 26 months, and it's about $1,800 or $1,900 per month. So your biweekly, every 15 days, your payment is only $800 or $900. And between $900 and $925 is your biweekly payment. So yes, you can survive in this market even though the freight rates are down. So in the US, if freight rates right now in June are $2.05 as a national average, that's really where they're sitting right now. $2.05 as a national average in June. Are you profitable? Yes, the owner operators are profitable. Can they be more profitable? Yes, they can be more profitable. But can you imagine what would happen if the freight rates right now would jump to $2.40 or $2.50 per mile? You think that these companies out there are going to be providing their lease purchase program as competitive as they are right now? Probably not. Okay. So you need to understand that when somebody has something good, there's nothing free. Nothing good comes for free. Okay. Now, when people ask me, why do you need a $5,000 deposit? Why do you need a $7,500 deposit for the trucks? And I tell them, guys, in order for you to make more money, you need to spend a little bit. I'm not going to give drivers the opportunity to make a lot more money without having anything in the game, right? I don't want people to think that my lease is a walkaway lease. It's not a walkaway lease. You sign on that dotted line, you're liable for the next 36 months or 24 months, depending on the truck that you choose. You're liable for those payments. right? I don't want you to think inside your mind that it's a walkaway lease. It's not a walkaway lease. You finish the lease, it's your truck. It's not my truck from when you sign it. And that's really the, this mindset has been continuing both in Canada and the US, that this is a walkaway lease. And I hate that. The drivers hate it and I hate it, right? Let's get into more of the questions. That would be a great topic of discussion. No content provider in trucking speak on that. Hey, Ronan, is it even worth? So, Light Warrior, I think you were responding to the previous comment. Okay. That would be a great topic of discussion. No content provider in trucking would speak on that. So, is it worth buying a truck in today's down market? It depends what your appetite is for profitability, right? If you're okay making that $8,000, $8,500, $9,000 a month after payments, after your expenses, then you're good to go. Because that's really what the owner operators are making in the US and in Canada. In Canada, when you're working on the per mile rate system, you really don't care what the what's happening in the market. And in the US, yes, it's not the typical $11,000-$12,000 that drivers or that owner operators or lease operators used to make. They're making more, about the $8,500, maybe $9,000 per month. So it depends what your appetite is for profitability. Do you know where I can refinance my equipment financing loan? I just purchased a used truck with a terrible rate. No money down payment, no money down payment. I love that. Or $1,700 on a $49,000 truck, 2020. So I'd love to know, BKLYN. I'd like to know what's the duration of that lease. So you bought a $49,000 truck. Your payments are $1,700. What's the duration of that 2020 Cascadia? Now, you have to understand something about refinancing. Anybody that's going to refinance your truck, they're most likely going to be buying out the original loan. Now, when you're buying out the original loan, that loan, in order for you to buy it out, you're paying it out with interest. Okay, so you're going to be paying double interest if you refinance it. So wouldn't be my recommendation for sure. 433,000 miles. I got that part. Okay, let's go into the next one. What are the numbers for your average lease deal? Weekly paid or monthly? Is there a credit pull? No, there isn't. What is the total cost of a truck? What is the average percentage rate? Okay, so I actually just did one earlier today, and I think it'd be good if I shared it with you guys. So if you give me 1 second, let me just pull something up, and I will share it with you guys. ET Transport. Let's go. All right, so let me just share my sheet with you guys. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. If you go on our website, you go all the way down. I created a thing for commercial equipment financing. Okay. Now, the loan amount here. So when we're talking about right now a 2020 Cascadia, when we're talking about 2019 Cascadia, we are talking approximately about a $50,000 truck. Now, the interest rate today on used equipment in our fleet, okay, so this is not banks, this is our internal thing. What we give our drivers is a $50,000 truck. They will most likely put $5,000 or $7,500 down. So they're going to be financing $45,000 over the course of 24 or 26 months. Now, their monthly payment is $1,984. This is a typical lease at ET Transport. All right. Now, if you're going for a little bit more of an expensive truck, a $65,000 truck, which is around the 2020 models, all right, you're going for about 32 months, and it's a little bit more expensive, but a 2020 model with $5,000 or $7,500 down. Okay, this is typically what our lease program, is. So you actually get your purchase price, you get an actual bill of sale, you get your amortization schedule, which is this. You can buy it out at any time, and there is clauses about if you were to buy out, there is a fee to buy out that truck early. And you can take that truck and do whatever you want with it. So if you're working here for 12 months and you're not happy with ET Transport, just provide a check for this amount over here plus the early buyout fee, and you can take that truck wherever you would like to go. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. And no, we do not have brand new units that we give away. So we don't have any brand new units. Right now, the newest power unit that you can get from us is a 2020, and most likely in September, October, in November, our 2021s will be up for the lease purchase program. So, does anybody have any questions on that? Ooh, there's a lot of questions here. Ooh. All right. Let's see what we got. Okay, do you know again refinance? So we answered that one. What are the numbers for your average lease deals? Okay, so I gave you that. How old are your average trucks? Our average trucks are for the lease purchase program are right now 2019s and 2020s. Hi, Ronan, do you have auto parts work? No, I don't. No money down. Okay, have skin in the game. Run from no money down. Thank you, Light Warrior. I 100% agree with that comment. If you see something that says no money down, run away. Can I get in with $4,999? I'm sure we can make the exception. With markets down, with markets down, with average to good credit, you can get a truck. Correct. Again, guys, if you're able to get traditional financing, if you're able to buy a truck from a dealership, I recommend that you do that. Okay. With markets down with that. Okay. Hi, Ronan. Is this a place where you'd be willing to discuss how you spec your truck? No. So unfortunately, I don't know how we spec our trucks. I would need somebody in safety. I remember I did this probably 5, 7, 8 years ago on how we spec our trucks. I know they're all Detroit DD 515 horsepower. And aside from that, I have no clue what else. So you're more than welcome to send me an email and I can get somebody to answer it for you. Next question. Hey, Ronan, will ET ever have a terminal on the West Coast? The West Coast market is very, very, very hard. Right now, we are, here in Ontario, we are in the middle of building a 25,000 square foot warehouse out in the Maritimes. So in Moncton, New Brunswick is where we have our second terminal. We've purchased our land there. It's a 7-acre lot. So our future is standing right now in Moncton. Once we're down that project, we already purchased our land here on Highway 50 in Major Mackenzie. So it's a 6-acre lot. We will be building there also. Unfortunately, we do not have plans to go into the West Coast. We just started. It's been 1 year exactly since we started in Atlanta, Georgia. My next target would probably be the Illinois-Wisconsin border, and the one after that would probably be in Pennsylvania. So I do not have any intentions as of yet to go into the West Coast. Hi, Ronan. Enjoying today's live. Looking forward to having a Teams meeting to enter into the program ET Driver 684. Nice. Okay, so here's one of our drivers that's here on this live session, unit 684. 684, I'm sure people would love to hear how you're doing here at ET Transport and maybe about the mileage. If you can just, make a comment on that. I'm sure other people would love to hear about it. Okay. What do you think about driving box trucks? Not my specialty. I don't know anything about it. I know there's other YouTubers that specialize with box trucks. I've met a couple of them actually, and I think that these questions are definitely for them. I specialize in tractor trailers, vans, reefers, and flatbeds. That's my forte. You can ask me any questions about them, about the market, and I can give you my honest opinion. Unfortunately, I do not know anything about box trucks. Can you lay out how it would work being a current company driver but buying my own truck to lease on with? ET Driver 684. Okay, so you are more than welcome again. Whether you're working here or in another company, or it doesn't matter where you're working, if you want to become an owner operator, you can go to the dealerships and purchase yourself a truck. All right. And you can bring it here to ET Transport. We can plate it and you can work as an owner operator. You don't have to get into the lease purchase program. Remember from the beginning when I said that the only people that should be going into a lease purchase program is either if you don't have such a big down payment or if your credit is lacking. So what do I mean by that? If you're going to get a traditional truck and your financing is more than about 14 or 15%, I do not recommend you getting into the lease purchase program. Is the lease purchase worth for inexperienced drivers in Canada? So I would never give anybody a truck, whether it's a lease purchase program or whether it is whether it's just a company driver. I would never give anybody a truck that does not have minimum 3 years experience. We were at 2 years experience, but we upped our game probably about this time last year. So our minimum requirement is 3 years. I don't think it's a good idea for you to buy a truck if you don't have experience, especially if you're a Canada-only driver. All right, next. There isn't a single lease purchase worth doing. That is, unfortunately, that is the wrap that these lease purchase programs have. There are actually some good lease purchase programs out there, not just here at ET, but I've stumbled upon a couple of good ones. So I can't brand them all as bad. Again, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into and what you are getting at the end of the day. Okay. Are these brand new trucks? No, these are not brand new trucks. We would not give away our brand new trucks under the lease purchase program. Next question. I'm hoping to own a truck soon in the USA, but I want to understand if you can buy a box truck and pay off, because in Ghana you can buy a car, then register with something, get insurance, roadworthy. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't know anything about box trucks. I'm sorry. If you can buy a box truck, so I don't know what the rules are for box trucks. Next, 60-month term, 60-month term. Holy shit. I'm so sorry about my language, guys. What does this mean? 60-month term, $1,759, $1,750. So let's just do the math on that. $1,750, multiply that by 60 months. $1,750, multiply that by 60 months. Okay, so this is exactly what I mean about, somebody buying a $50,000 truck and paying $100,000 for it. Okay, so check out this guy, Blaine. I'm so sorry, BKLYN. I'm sorry, but I have to bring this up because this happens to a lot of people. All right, so you buy yourself a 2020 truck Cascadia with 437,000 miles on it. Okay, this truck here is probably worth about, you bought it for $49,000. Like if you had traditional financing on that. So let me just share my screen again, because I have to bring this point across, because it's very, very important, because a lot of people get lured into nonsense. Okay, you buy yourself a $49,000 truck. Your interest rates, if you're paying $1,750 over the course of 60 months, okay, let's just see how much interest rate that is. Okay, so that is considered highway robbery. Okay, you bought a $49,000 truck. You're paying $1,750. My friend, it looks like you are paying probably around 40% interest rates. No, 35. 1,700 and so 36. All right, 60 months, if that's correct, right? So 60-month term, $49,000 truck, 1,750 monthly term. Early buyout is an option. Cascadia, 437. Okay, so by the reverse calculator, you are paying 36% on your truck. You bought a $49,000 truck, and by the time you're done with it, you are paying for 1,750 times 60. You're paying $105,000. Okay, you have paid over $57,000 worth of interest. That, my friend, is a horrible, horrible deal. And if you would have asked me to, gotten a consultation with me, I probably would have gotten you those terms, probably instead of paying 36% to get you 17, 18, or 19% on that truck. But that's just a great example of a horrible deal. Okay. Sorry to point that out. Next one. No, Ronan, to clarify, I'm talking about DAC report with low point but reportable. That would be a great discussion. No content creator speaks. Light Warrior, if you can send me an email, I'd be more than happy to talk about this subject, but I need a little bit more clarification on what exactly that topic is. Next, he's not the only ET driver here. Okay, Solomon, the Solomon Project. Apparently, there's another ET driver here. Guys, feel free to write down the comments on what you guys are experiencing. For all of you guys out there, if you see an ET transport truck on the road in a truck stop, stop the driver. Ask them. They're really friendly drivers. They'll tell you they'll tell you the good, they'll tell you the bad. I can talk about on and on about ET Transport and how amazing our company is. But if you catch one of those drivers on the highway, not on the highway, but if you catch them in the truck stop, they'll be more than happy to tell you about, everything in this company. Ask them the good and the bad. You need to know everything before going into a company or working for a company. All right, next one. All right. I just bought a 2020 Freightliner Cascadia with 468,000 miles on it and for $45,000. Perfect. Okay. So Daniel, buying the truck is one thing. The financing part is a whole nother thing. Now, if you do have cash or if you're able to post up, 50% down, you should be able to get a steal for that truck. So buying a 2020 for $45,000, that's really good. Now, guys, don't forget, when I am bringing up examples, I'm talking about Canadian dollars. So when I'm saying $60,000 Canadian, I'm Canadian fleet, right? It's the equivalent to your $45,000 American. So just to clear that up, please educate we newbies coming to USA hoping to start in the trucking business. A little bit more specific what you'd like me to educate you on. What kind of a gross pay weekly is average to make a profit? So guys, very simple. Today's national average is $2.05. A driver typically drives about 2,700 miles a week. Multiply that by $2.05. The gross earnings today is about $5,500. Okay, that's how much gross a driver makes. Now you can calculate yourself wherever you are going to plate your truck, the expenses, the tolls, the bridges, the faxes. In the US, everything is separate. In Canada, everything is nothing to do with gross. Everything is mileage. Okay. One of the cool things, guys, if you are thinking about one day dispatching yourself, there is a dispatch course that we've created out there, especially for, I highly recommend any owner operator do it. Okay, so the dispatch course is nine modules. It's available on YouTube, and you get to sign up to the mentorship sessions with me. Okay, so this dispatch course will allow you to to educate yourself on how to book freight on your own, what documents you need, regulations and authorities, the technology, the role of a dispatcher. So it's a dispatch course. It's 10 hours long, and I highly recommend it to any owner operator or company driver that's ever thinking of dispatching themselves or finding the work yourself. It'll teach you how to find stuff on these load boards, and then you can do a cost analysis to see if it's even worth it or not worth it, or at what point is it worth it for you to enter the market. Okay. All right, brother, why are the freight rates so low? Well, that you can ask. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that, or I don't have a short answer for that, so I don't think I'll be discussing that here. Hello, Ronan. Do owner-operators first have to work 3 months like company drivers do for ET Transport? No. So if you have your own truck, so let's say you came from a dealership, you bought a truck at a dealership or from another company of your own truck, you do not need to work here for the 60 days. You're able to start from day one as an owner operator. Again, you have to understand that when you're doing a lease purchase program, I'm going to be working with somebody for the next 36 months. In order for me to work with somebody for the next 36 months, I need to know who they are. I need to know how they drive. I need to know that they, make their pickups on time, make their deliveries on time, that they get along with dispatch. So this stuff I need to make sure before I can sign them on board with us under the lease purchase program. Does ET have any truck sale department? No. So most of our trucks, they go straight into the lease purchase program. So in COVID years, we held onto our trucks a little bit more. And then, recently, right now, we're receiving our 2025s. So the 2019s are coming off they're coming off of ET and into the hands of these lease operators. Now, another thing that you need to know about ET, we do not have any parked trucks. So when we give a lease operator a truck, those are running trucks. Those are trucks that are on the road. Those are trucks that currently have a driver in them. So what we do when we have a customer or we have a buyer for it, we usually put the driver into the truck that he's going to buy. He's going to test that truck for 30 to 60 days. Okay, he's going to make sure he's comfortable with it. He's going to make sure that he is comfortable buying that truck. And only after 30 to 60 days, once he gets that comfortable feeling, because that's what we want him to have, just like we want to have our comfortable feeling about the driver. So once you get that comfortable feeling, that's when we sign on the dotted line. And that's when that truck is being given off to the owner operator, or that's when the lease purchase agreement really happens and takes place. But I think that it's very good that you should be testing out and driving the truck that you're potentially going to buy. Okay, very important. So the trucks we are going to lease is from ET company, right? Absolutely. Yes. These are only our assets. We've had them from since they were brand new. We take care of them. We do all the maintenance repairs on them. Filters are changed on time. Everything has gone through our own internal shops. Okay. Roman, haven't rates always been this low before COVID? Before COVID, no, not this low. How on earth do you expect people to make money at 2.05? Speed freak, you would be surprised, but you can, as long as you know what you're doing. But yes, you can be profitable at 2.05. If your truck got stolen, what does it say in your lease? I might be way out just asking for a friend. I have no idea what you're referring to. If trucks are stolen, obviously they're covered under the insurance. All you got to do is have a cost of operation of 1.05 per mile, and you'll be making good money. So yes, I mean, one of the things that we try to do is to make you profitable. The lease purchase program was designed in order to make you guys profitable. If you were not profitable, I would have hundreds of Google reviews on me that Ronan is a scam artist and all he does, his lease purchase program is garbage. Okay, I don't have that because I need to make sure that you're going to be profitable. And one of the things that we do between the 30 to 60 days is we do the test. And the test is that if you were driving the way that you drive, between 30 to 60 days, if you were the owner operator instead of a company driver, if you were on the lease purchase program, we test out that you would be profitable. Meaning that if the driver does not produce, 2,600 miles a week, they're not going to be profitable. Okay, so there's another reason why we test it out for 30 to 60 days, because I don't want to sign with anybody if they're not going to be profitable. I don't need horrible Google reviews, right, to tell me how bad our company is. I want people to say how good it is here. I want people to be happy with the program that they're in. I don't need anybody dropping the keys. Thank God I haven't had, actually, no, I've had two in my career of people that brought me back the truck, and that's only because one had a family emergency at home and one actually had a family emergency with themselves. So one was a family matter and one was a health issue that they just wouldn't continue. Now, in both cases, if those trucks were financed through the banks, I believe that in both cases those banks would have gotten the return of those trucks also. There was absolutely nothing that I was able to do about it. Okay. Wow, lots of comments. My God, is this a popular one? Hey, Ronan, this is my 90th day exactly. So far with ET Transport, I have enjoyed my time. Okay, so this is a comment from one of our drivers. I've enjoyed my time. I have had lots of miles. Friendly dispatchers. I would recommend ET to those from the East Coast. ET driver 684. Okay, so Straight Edge Trucker is a company driver of ours, unit number 684, and he's just letting everybody know that so far he's been enjoyed with his time. I have lots of miles, friendly dispatchers. Okay, Straight Edge, I want you to give me something that you would like to improve about ET Transport. Okay, so give me a comment on, what do you think ET Transport can improve? For now, I'm going to go on to the next comment. Okay, 45 cents is not enough for you to maintain your truck and pay your insurance. I don't know what you're referring to. JJ, thanks for the laugh. Vit 911. Okay, so first have to be a company driver in ET Transport. How it looks like in US. I mean, I need to complete the application for company driver first. Yes. So basically, you're onboarded as a company driver. You let them know that you are interested in the lease purchase program. You come work as a company driver for the 30 to 60 days, and then I will invite you and we'll go over the profitability chart. Basically, we do a mock of the way that you were driving for the 30 to 60 days. If you were in the lease purchase program, if you would be profitable or not profitable. Okay. If the answer is yes, then great, we continue. If the answer is no, then we say thank you very much. The lease purchase program is just not for you. Sometimes I will give indications of where we need to be. So, for example, I could say that, okay, you only produce 2,400 miles. You need to produce minimum 2,700 miles. So we'll give it another 60 days. All right. I tell anyone looking to lease, make sure you have zero debt, clean credit report. If not, Your total bills are going to stress you out. It's ideal to drive a company until you are debt free. I totally agree with that. I think that, somebody asked me the other day would you go into debt in order to buy a truck? Would you put the down payment or whatever on your credit cards? And I said, absolutely not. That does not make sense. You need to have your $5,000 or $7,500 saved. You need to have it liquid. You should not be taking a loan for it. Hey, Ronan, I'm an owner operator and I'm killing it in this market. What are your thoughts? If you're killing it into this market, then you're doing great. Why did you skip over the 2.251 operation cost for 2023? I don't understand. Why did you skip over the 2.251 operation cost for 2023? I don't think the cost is 2.251, but I don't know what you're talking about. If you could be more specific in your comment. Do you hire lease operators from Calgary? Good questions. I do have some guys that are from Calgary. There's a lot of questions that I would have to ask you in order to decide whether we do or don't. And one of them being, how long you're able to stay on the road for. And there's follow-up questions to that in order to see if you're a good fit or not. Ronan, with my terrible loan, 60 months, 49K loan, how should I get out of this? Double my payments. I don't have family or kids. I'm young. I can sacrifice and work hard. So with that horrible lease agreement, there's really not much that you can do right now. Doubling up your payments really doesn't make sense, and that's because you've already paid the interest for the 50 something thousand dollars. So by doubling up your payment, you're really not doing much in order to help your situation out. You're just giving that bank, that finance, that you're giving them free money. Ronan, you are a wealth of knowledge. However, you skip over one major cost video after video. Cost of maintenance. People have no idea how expensive trucks get. Warranty is out once boxed. Okay. So, it's very hard to, it's very, very hard to answer this question about maintenance. So there are some owner operators that will constantly get into jams when it comes to maintenance. And there are other owner operators or lease operators that don't get into jams. So I know that our 6-year-old trucks and 7-year-old trucks, we don't have nearly as much problems as the world does out there. Maybe that's because we have an anti-idling policy. Maybe because we have all of our trucks are equipped with battery pack and diesel APU units. I don't know why. I don't suffer from the EGR problems, the sensor problems, the filter problems, the what is it called? There's a few other problems that other people constantly talk about. I don't see them. My trucks don't get stuck or don't have nearly as much problems as what I hear out there. And I think that I think that what we're doing right is we're not idling these trucks, because when you're idling these trucks, a lot of the problems come out and a lot of the problems come much sooner in life. So, for example, our 6 or 7-year-old trucks, they will only have 3,200 hours in them. But when I compare it to other trucks that are 6 or 7 years old, they have 4,800 hours, 4,900 hours. So that's why I think our trucks are able to go a lot further. The maintenance, obviously, there is a maintenance component. You'd have to be, delusional if you think that you're becoming an owner operator and you're not going to have maintenance and repairs. It does happen. But when you're working for a company that has their own shops, you should be taking advantage of their hourly rates. For example, the Freightliner across the street from us, they charge $168 an hour. And our shops, we bill at $110 an hour. When I tell my American drivers or owner operators that you can come from the US into Canada with a load and we will service your truck at $110 Canadian an hour, which is equivalent to about $82 or $83 an hour, they are, that's something that they need to take advantage of. And they do take advantage of when they work for our fleet. All right, next question. Hello, sir. How much do truck drivers get paid per week in your company? I believe in the US it's 65 cents per mile, and our average driver does about 2750 miles times 0.65. So to answer that question, the fee is what drivers make is about $1,700 to $1,800 is what they make weekly. How big of a difference is it between owner operator and lease operator profits? So there is no difference. The payout is exactly the same whether you're an owner operator or a lease operator. Now, when I talk about owner operators, my definition is different than the ones in the US. Our owner operators are guys that own their own truck, but they work under our umbrella in fleet. So they don't pay me the lease payment. They have a bank or a finance company that they do. The lease operators are the ones leasing the trucks from me. Okay, now the payout is exactly the same to the both of them. One has to pay me their lease payments at the end of the 15 days, and the other one has payments to the bank at the end of 15 days, or it could be a bought out equipment. I'm currently working with JB Hunt. Congratulations. Um, that comment that Ronan just made to 684 speaks volumes about him. Thank you very much. I really, one of the things that I like to do is I really don't like it only when people say the good. Every single trucking company out there is going to have the good and is going to have a bad. So I really think you guys should hear about, what drivers complain about here at ET. And you should also be doing the exact same thing with any other company that you're going into. Next. Hey, Ronan. Can name some good lease purchases in Canada. I mean, only see 3 to 4 companies who does it in Ontario. There are a lot more than 3 or 4 companies that do it in Ontario. So far, the ones that I've checked, most of them are not. It's not somebody that I would recommend. Even the good ones, I really am hesitant about saying anything about them. Because the last thing that I want is somebody signing up and then coming back to me and telling me, "Hey, Ronan, it wasn't good." So sometimes they're good on paper, but when drivers actually work there, they're not so happy. So unfortunately, I cannot recommend those companies. If you want to survive, next comment. If you want to survive in this market, you need to not share your money with the banks, salesmen, dispatchers, company split, and factoring. All right, no comment. Something to improve is okay. So here's our driver who's going to make a comment. Okay, something to improve is the availability to service the company unit. Shop location is not ideal, and trying to schedule into the shop can be hard. Okay, so what is the driver talking about? Our driver is saying that here is a negative thing about our company. Something to improve is the availability to service the company units. Okay, so in order for right now, we have 6 full-time mechanics in our shop. The shop is about, I would say, 3,700 square feet. Pretty small shop for our fleet. Now, the shop location is horrible. I'm the first one to say this. It is as bad as it gets. Now, the reason we went into the shop is because last year our lease finished, and we had our office, our warehouse, our shop, and um, our office, warehouse shop, and the yard. So all 4 were in one location. Our 7 or 8 year lease finished. We were not able to find the ideal situation. So what we had to do is now we're in 4 separate locations. Our shop is in one location, our warehouse is in a second location, our office is in a third location, and our yard is in a fourth location. Okay. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're still trying to find the ideal place. So I can, I hear your pain, and it's very, very hard for me also because the location of the shop is basically we had to take a place that's month to month until we find something a lot better. So thank you very much for bringing this up. I am well aware of the negatives within our company, and I definitely see that the shop location is hard, and the size of the shop is very small compared to what we're used to and what we're going to get ourselves into. All right, next comment. So as long as you want and as long as I make the miles. Okay. Oh, so this is the comment of the guy in Alberta. As long as you want to. Okay, so I would recommend that you send me an email to sponsorship@ettransport.ca. Let me know in detail, your situation, and we'll get on the phone and we'll talk to one another. Okay, being from the East Coast, we should have a shop in Moncton or access to service for the truck drivers' downtime. So that was a decision that we had to make when we are building out our new 25,000 or 24,000 square foot location. There is no shop in those plans because our end goal here in Canada, in Ontario, is to have our shop in the 6-acre lot that we purchased. Cash out your equipment, get your own authority, dispatch your own trucks, maintain your own trucks, and you'll be killing it like me. So JJ, I mean, thank you for the comments. So there are a lot of guys that I consult on opening up their own fleets, and a lot of people that are part of the dispatch course. Definitely your first thing that you need to do doesn't have to be my dispatch course. It could be any dispatch course. The dispatch course will teach you on whether or not this is something for you. Okay. So there are some owner operators that are good when they're being dispatched, and they're very happy that way. They don't need the added stress of finding loads. And then there's other owner operators that really want to make a little bit more, a little bit extra, and they're always looking for that extra thing to do. So yes, you can open up your own authorities and you are able to dispatch yourself. You just need to be guided through it properly, and you can definitely do it because I've seen guys do it and I train guys to do it, and they're a part of my mentorship program, and they constantly ask me the questions. So when you do the dispatch course, then you also are a part of my mentorship sessions. And my mentorship sessions is me guiding and talking to people in a Teams meeting, and we're talking about whatever questions they have, and me answering to the best of my ability. And you'll also hear other people's opinions because they're all in the same boat that you're in. Okay. How can I see the idle on my tractor? So Sam, I don't, sorry, Sam, are you one of our drivers? If you are one of my drivers, then you should be able to see your idling time. If you are not one of my drivers, if you have a dash cam, usually those dash cams are smart and they'll be able to tell you everything about your truck. How is the hiring procedures? If you can please give us some information. So the hire procedures, there's 2 recruiters here at ET Transport. You would need to send them an email with your contact info. Most likely, if you're a part of this session, you're already in our database because you got an email, or you probably came in from YouTube. So a lot of you guys, we have your contact info. You would need to let the recruiters know that you're interested in the lease purchase program. They will do an intake for you. Most of those intakes, especially for the lease purchase program, they will come to me. I'll have a look. Most likely I'll pick up the phone, give you a call, talk to you, and see if you are a good candidate for the lease purchase program. Hey, Ronan, what's the minimum credit score required on our leases? So our leases, one of our assets, I really don't care about your credit score. I care about your driving habits. I care about your experience, and I care about who you are as a human being. I've been driving since 98, and this is the best I've been as a company driver, been here for a year. Solomon, that's one of our drivers. I've been driving. Solomon, I'm going to ask you for the same thing. Give me something not so great about ET or what we can improve on. But I appreciate the positive comments, and it actually speaks volume to me because you've been a driver since 98, and you believe that ET Transport is one of the best companies that you've been at. So thank you very much. Laughing aloud, I was being gentle. All right, next one. The American Transportation Research Institute came to the conclusion that the cost to operate a truck in 2023 was $2.25 US per mile. This is what I was referring to earlier. That's more than $3 Canadian. So I would have to completely disagree with it. I do not believe that we're anywhere close to $2.25 per mile to operate. It's a lot cheaper to operate a truck. But if you'd like to have the debate, I'd be more than happy to. Does American drivers need to go to your office in Canada for a lease application? No, they do not need to go. I highly recommend that anybody in the US that is signing up to the lease purchase program, that you have a valid passport. Why? Because I want you to be successful, and I want you to take advantage of the Canadian labor rates, okay, the shop rates. Orientation, no, everything is done in the US. So both the lease application, the intake, the orientation is all done in the US. We have the terminal in Atlanta, Georgia, and they'll be able to do everything for you. All right, sorry guys, it's almost 3:00. I just got to double check on my schedule to see if I have anything else at 3. If not, I will continue. All right, guys. Unfortunately, I have 5 more minutes that I can spare. All right, that I can. Okay, how many dispatchers does it take to dispatch your fleet, and how many trucks in your fleet? Thank you. Okay, I don't know why that's relevant, but it's we have over 100 power units in our fleet, and dispatchers is far too many to count right now. I have no clue how many of them, but there's a lot of them. Example of a buyout fee. So a buyout fee should be $1. I mean, that's what I like to see. At most, $5,000. At the very, 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 very most, $10,000. That should be a buyout fee. Never do I want to see anything more than $10,000, because a lot of times when drivers are finished, for example, let's say you bought one of my trucks and it's 36 months, it's a $50,000 truck. I mean, really, does that truck have that much value um, after does it really have that much value after 3 years or 2.5 years? It does not. So I don't want to see anything more than $10,000 as a buyout. Okay. The less, the better it is. Hello from New Mexico. Love the content. Thank you very much. I'll take you up on that offer for the debate. Name the time and place. So please send me an email to sponsorship@ettransport.ca. You can do the subject line, call it debate, and I'll remember who you are. Just please do it sooner than later, because if it's more than an hour, I probably won't remember. We will definitely debate on the cost per mile. I would love to have a session with you, and then maybe at the, I'll tell you one thing about me. I'm not stubborn, meaning that if you can prove me wrong, I'll be the first one to say, you know what, you were right, and I'm more than happy to, to talk about it and debate properly, without the F in this and F in that. If you can have a normal debate, and you seem like a pretty reasonable guy from your comments, then we can definitely talk about it. But I truly believe that the cost per mile is a lot less than the $2.25. Best starter company for someone looking to get into flatbeds. I don't know who the best startup company is, but what I do know is you need to find a company that has the training for the flatbed division, and they have the guidance and support for you. Flatbeds are very dangerous if you do not know what you're doing. So make sure you get it right. So sometimes here, when a driver wants to convert from the van division into a flatbed division, what we do is sometimes when the driver will take a couple of days off, and he'll work with our city driver, and that city driver does loading and offloading very frequently in the city. And then after a few sessions of those, then the safety manager will have a meeting with him. We'll go out and do a pickup or a delivery on a flatbed load, and only then would we give the guy the green light to work in the flatbed division. And also, when they do start in the flatbed division, they are very, very close hand. They work with our safety and compliance manager. Unfortunately, guys, I do not have any more time. I have to log into my next meeting. But thank you guys all so much for joining this session. Get EM. I appreciate the content. Been a fan for a couple of years now. Thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate you logging in. For those that are interested, feel free to reach out and stay connected. And, I do this probably once a week now, the live sessions, and every time it's a different topic. If you'd like to get notified, if you're not a part of our database, you can email sponsorship@ettransport.ca. You're more than welcome to send us an email with your contact info, and we will put you into our database, and we will, send you updates as we know them. For all the comments out there, thank you guys so much for putting these comments together. I appreciate it, and I wish you all the best of luck out there. And remember the 3 points. You need to have the purchase price when you're leasing a truck. You need to have a buyout clause when you're leasing a truck, and you need to have your amortization schedule. Very, very important. Okay, do not lease anybody's truck without that information. Hopefully, you learned something from this, and I'll catch you in my next one.